He was only a boy, small, quiet, and far too young to understand why the world seemed to look at him differently. That day in court, all eyes turned when he stood up, trembling but determined, with words no one expected. "I'm my mom's lawyer." The room fell silent. Some smirked, others gasped, but what happened next shattered the illusion of justice and revealed a truth many refused to face. Was this courage, or a desperate cry against a system built to break him? Before that unforgettable day in court, Jamal was just like any other 12-year-old boy. He loved drawing superheroes, playing basketball with kids on his block, and helping his mom fold laundry on the weekends. Their world was small, a modest apartment, a kitchen that always smelled of fried chicken and fresh bread, but it was filled with love. His mom worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3, just to keep the lights on. And though exhaustion weighed heavy on her face, she always found the strength to smile at him, to remind him that he was her hope. But in their neighborhood, hope was fragile. Police sirens weren't background noise. They were constant reminders of how quickly life could turn. Jamal had seen friends stopped on the street for no reason, watched his mom face landlords who never fixed anything, just because they thought she wouldn't fight back. He didn't understand everything, but he felt it. The weight of being judged before being known. And then came the day that changed everything. The day his mom was dragged into court over something she didn't do. Jamal sat in that courtroom, watching her tremble, and he knew deep inside, if no one else would defend her, he would. The courtroom was supposed to be a place of truth, of fairness. But for Jamal and his mom, it felt more like a trap. The judge's eyes barely lifted when they walked in, his gavel striking the desk as though their presence was already a nuisance. The prosecutor spoke with a confidence that cut like glass, painting Jamal's mom as careless, dishonest, someone undeserving of sympathy. Jamal sat on the hard wooden bench, fists clenched, his legs barely reaching the floor. He wanted to shout, to tell them they were wrong, but his voice was drowned in the hum of authority. His mom tried to explain. She stumbled over her words, her voice breaking, every sentence twisted against her. The courtroom snickers weren't loud, but Jamal heard them. They weren't laughing at the case. They were laughing at her, at the idea that a single black mother could stand against a system designed to crush her. And then it happened. The lawyer assigned to her leaned back in his chair, barely lifting a finger to defend her. Papers shuffled half-heartedly. No objections, no passion, no fight. Jamal realized with a sickening twist in his stomach, the very person meant to protect his mom had already given up. Something inside him snapped. His small hand shot into the air, trembling but unshakable. "I'll defend her," he said, his voice sharp and sudden. Heads turned. A wave of gasps rippled across the room. For a moment even the judge froze, his gavel hovering mid-air. The silence was heavy, almost suffocating. Jamal could feel every eye on him, some filled with pity, some with disbelief, and others with that quiet, cruel laughter he had come to know all too well. The judge leaned forward, his voice dripping with condescension. "Son, this is not a playground. Sit down before you embarrass yourself." But Jamal didn't move. His heart was pounding so loudly he thought it might crack his chest, but his eyes stayed locked on his mother. She sat frozen, tears forming, caught between pride and fear. "Why should I sit down?" Jamal whispered, his voice trembling. "When the only one fighting for her is me." The room stirred. The prosecutor's smirk widened, amused at the absurdity of a boy daring to step into their world. But beneath the laughter, there was something else in the air. A tension no one could shake, because deep down, everyone knew. Jamal wasn't just speaking for his mother. He was speaking against every silent injustice the room had witnessed and ignored. And as the judge's gavel slammed down, the battle for truth was only just beginning. The courtroom erupted into chaos the moment Jamal refused to sit down. Whispers filled the air, some mocking, some stunned, others almost afraid of what might happen next. The judge's face flushed red with anger, his gavel striking again and again. "Order!" he shouted. But Jamal stood rooted to the floor, his small frame trembling yet unyielding. The prosecutor leaned forward, smirking. "This is a joke, Your Honor. Are we really going to entertain the fantasies of a child?" His words were like poison, each syllable dripping with the arrogance of a man who believed the outcome was already written. But Jamal didn't look at him. He looked at his mom, her head bowed, hands clasped, shoulders shaking. He could see her giving up, shrinking under the weight of it all, and that was the breaking point. "I know I'm just a boy," Jamal's voice cracked, but it rang louder than anyone expected. "But I know my mom is innocent, and if no one here cares enough to prove it, then I will." For a moment, silence swallowed the room. Every heartbeat, every breath seemed suspended in the air. Even the judge hesitated, his gavel frozen mid-strike, and then came the laughter, not just from the prosecutor, but from a few in the gallery. Low, cruel chuckles that burned in Jamal's ears. To them, this wasn't bravery. It was entertainment. A child standing against a system that had chewed up and spit out people far stronger than him. The judge's eyes hardened, and when he spoke, his words carried the weight of finality. "Enough. Sit down, boy, or I'll have you removed." Jamal swallowed, his hands shaking. But he didn't move. Because in that moment, he understood something terrifying. If he sat down now, if he stayed silent, his mom would lose everything, and so would he. The gavel came down with a sharp crack, ending Jamal's plea before it could begin. Court officers moved toward him, and for a moment, it seemed as though even his courage would be silenced. But in that instant, something shifted. The room, once filled with laughter, grew uncomfortably quiet, because beneath the smirks and whispers, everyone had seen what had just happened. A child forced to stand where justice should have stood. Jamal's mom lost her case that day. She walked out of the courtroom with fines she couldn't pay and a dignity chipped away by a system that never saw her as equal. Jamal walked out too, his small hands clenched, his heart heavy, but not broken. Because even in defeat, he had spoken truth to power, and no gavel could erase that. For him, the memory would never fade. The red face of the judge, the prosecutors, mocking grin, the weight of silence when his words rang out. But maybe that was the point. His story wasn't just about one courtroom, one mother, one boy. It was about every place where voices go unheard, where justice bends under the weight of prejudice, where laughter is used to hide cruelty. And now, that story belongs to all of us. Because if a 12-year-old boy could stand up, trembling yet unshaken, what excuse do we have to stay silent? The question lingers. How many more Jamals will it take before we decide enough is enough?